what's up guys? I'm here to do a video about the books I used to read as a teenager, and the reason why I'm doing this is because I literally got blasted to the past today because someone posted a photo of the Click series, and I was like, hold on, like, you cannot post an icon without me talking about it. So I'm going to be talking about the books that I used to read as a teenager, and some of these genres I still dabble in, but most of them I really don't anymore because I'm just into contemporary commercial fiction now. But these books, they'll always have a special place in my heart. So I am going to start with a genre that I'm making up right now. Pretty much when I say it, you guys will know what sort of books I'm talking about. And I'll try to put some pictures here. The Rich White Teenage Girl series of books, chef's kiss. Like, honestly, dare I say white excellence? Like, literally, I'm talking about the Click, I'm talking about the Private series, I'm talking about the A-List series, I'm talking about the It series, the It Girl series, I'm talking about Gossip Girl. These books, you could not tell me anything. They were perfection. And here's the thing, this is what makes me laugh. People talk about morally gray books. Morally gray books, really? The books that y'all say are morally gray today are not morally gray. The books that people call morally gray, literally what happens is someone has a crush on a dude who is in a relationship and they don't even act on it. They just have a crush. Or maybe, like, they're mean to their friend once and y'all will be calling it morally great in the Goodreads reviews, and I'm just like, really? Because the books I read, the Click series, you want to talk about morally gray? These teenagers were cheating on each other, not just kisses, with full-blown like sexual relations. They were uninviting people to parties, stealing clothes, making fun of people's clothes, making fun of people to their face, behind their back, backstabbing. Like, do not call a book morally great if you have not read the Click series. And I just miss mean girlness in books. I'm sorry, I do. I don't think being a mean girl is cool. It's not. But it's fun to read. And a lot of these books aren't giving that. Everyone's nice. And it's like, oh. Like, okay, whatever. The other thing that was so attractive about these books was the name dropping of designer clothes. They would be wearing like Ralph Lauren, you know, Tom Ford, Lacoste, is it Lacoste or Lacoste, the alligator brand that tennis players sometimes wear, Fendi and LV and LL Bean and Kate Spade. Like, it was casual. Like, they bought it at Target. Like, literally, they would just name it like it was casual. And for some reason, this just added to the allure of these books. The other thing is that their schools were so like East Coast. They had an East Coast vibe. They weren't like my public high school, you know. They were like Harvard. It's basically Harvard, but like put teenagers in it, you know. These books were perfect. Like, I just miss Mean Girl books. I don't know why. I just feel like, where is that for this generation? Like, you know, Rich White Teenage Girl. Perfect genre. Perfect genre. The next genre I want to talk about is fantasy. And when I say fantasy, obviously Harry Potter. I mean, J.K. Rowling is canceled and really done with, but guys, I literally made my mom stand in line at Borders for 12 hours for the last book, for the last Harry Potter book. That is not a lie. Literally, we were at Borders and we had gone to the Harry Potter like costume party because, you know, I loved this series, and I told my mom, please, like, take me. And we were expecting that they would start releasing the books in the evening. What happened was there was too many people for the amount of books they had. So they were kind of like, oh, you know, we're gonna, you know, they kind of did the thing where they kept pushing back the release so people would go home. And I was like, you know, my mom was like, okay, we're gonna go home and come back and get this book. And I was like, on God, we're gonna stay here. If you care about me as a daughter, literally, I was like near tears on the ground, talking to my mom, if you care about me as a daughter, you will let me stay here and get the last book. And my mom agreed. I don't know why she agreed, because honestly, as a mom, I'd probably be like, you're tripping, we're going home. The other series that I really liked was the Fallen series, and the Fallen series is really slept on. I think it's by Lauren Kay, I can't remember. The Fallen series is not a vampire book, and it's not a werewolf book, so it's already different. The Fallen series is a fallen angel book, and a fallen angel, basically, I believe a fallen angel is someone who God sends to Earth, and they kind of F it up. Either they fall in love with who they're supposed to be protecting, or maybe they do something where they're out of favor with God, and they're basically living on Earth as fallen angels. So it's low-key on some like devil ish, but for some reason I loved the Fallen series, and it was a very popular series. So Aragon, Inkheart, Graceling, books with dragons I really loved. Now these days I don't really care for dragon books, but I don't know, I really loved it when I was younger. Like if a dragon was in a story, I loved it. I don't know. Yeah, pretty much fantasy in general, just like anything with vampires, anything with witches, anything with cults, fallen angels, werewolves. And what's funny is I grew up Catholic and they told us specifically not to read these kind of books, and I didn't care. Twilight. Oh my God. My mom actually blocked me the first time from reading Twilight. I would think I was definitely like maybe 14 or 15, and she blocked me because she heard there was like sexually suggestive stuff. And I was just like, no, there isn't. And Mom, don't you want me to read? And she basically like, you know, obviously eventually let me read it. And man, I loved that, because honestly what I liked about the Twilight series, and I don't care, people say it was cheesy back then, and I didn't care then and I don't care now. It was a great series, and I don't care if it's poorly written. The thing I loved about it was, well, Bella's like, if you read the book, she's not beautiful. Like, she's not supposed to be beautiful. She's just literally an average woman, average teenager. And somehow she gets two otherworldly men to like her, you know? And granted, the book's kind of problematic because, you know, I just kind of realized this. Edward is like old as hell. You know, he's seen some stuff. He probably has seen like the Emancipation Proclamation, literally, because he's really old. So, you know, I don't know why he's going after teenage girls, but for some reason I was eating it up. And honestly, you know, I was always Team Edward. I don't know. And the Percy Jackson series was also good too. That was kind of a little bit younger, more middle grade, but basically it was about Greek gods and their offspring. They're like offspring with mortals, like humans. So like if you ever study like the Greek gods, something I like about the Greek gods is like, okay, the Christian God is very like good and like supposed to know what's wrong or right. What appealed to me about the Greek gods is they're messy and they're often doing things that are wrong. Like literally they're not like all good type of gods, you know, and they have to gather each other, you know, they have to get each other together because, for instance, like Zeus will literally be sleeping, you know, with full like blown mortals. Like, you're not supposed to do that. And he's with Hera, and Hera has to set curses on these women, and it's just really funny. Then you have Dionysus, who's like a drunk, you know, he's like the god of like indulging yourself basically. And so you have these offsprings in the book, and they're talking about their parents being messy, and it's just kind of fun. I don't know, I really love those books. The other genre that's kind of different that I would say is dystopian. Dystopian's different because dystopian can be fantasy, can be sci-fi, but sometimes it's really neither, and sometimes it's kind of both. But obviously, Hunger Games. I'm not going to pretend like I didn't like Hunger Games. I was always Team PETA. F. Gale. Another series I also like was Gone. The Gone series by Michael Grant, I want to say. The Gone series is when all the adults disappear. They all disappear, and for some reason there's like a radiation leak, and the kids are starting to get like powers. The teenagers are starting to get powers. And people take on different roles, and some of them are like gardeners and make food. Some of them are trying to gain political power and kind of start like cults. Some of them are just mothering, and it's really interesting. It's kind of like Lord of the Flies, but except like Lord of the Flies kind of only deals with boys, and it's kind of a smaller group. This is like literally like mass disappearance of adults, and it's so good. The Gone series is so good. Another book that I really liked in this series was the Matched series. The Matched series, I think, is a very like ID heavy world where like everyone has like a couple numbers that identify them, and everyone's location is tracked like heavy, like a surveillance state. And that book was really good to me too. I don't know why I liked dystopian so much. There was another book where the moon, I can't remember the title, but the moon like gets pushed out of whack. It's like out of whack with its orbit, and then everything goes to shit on Earth because the waves are off and water is off, the patterns are off. And so basically everyone goes to the store, grabs food, hides out, and then has to like fend for themselves. And you see this family kind of go through starvation and trying to get food and resources, and it's just so good. I don't know why I was more into dystopian back then than now, because arguably climate change is much more apparent to us now, and the end of the world seems very much more closer. But for some reason, dystopian just kind of healed my soul as a teenager. I think I was just afraid about what the future would look like, and dystopian like let me kind of work through those problems. So I really loved dystopian books. Okay, now this genre is a fake genre, but it's books I should not have been reading. 50 Shades of Grey series, what the hell was I doing reading those books? First of all, I believe I was reading those books because I was on Tumblr. Like literally, I was like basically someone who had not even kissed anyone when I was on Tumblr like that. Like when I was like a teenager, like I didn't kiss anyone until college. So literally, like I was on Tumblr BDSM websites doing God knows what. I don't know what I was reading for. What was I reading for? I don't know why I was reading that, but then it got me into like 50 Shades of Grey because that's about BDSM, or it puts itself out to be. People have criticized it, but so, you know, and in the book, you know, she doesn't know anything about sex really, like really she doesn't, but she falls in love with this like millionaire who like is really into this stuff, has like whips and chains and different, you know, type of stuff. And I was reading it. I would honestly, low-key, I'd be reading that in class on my Kindle, and who knew that I was doing that? Like seriously, who knew? Nobody. That's why I like the Kindle. I would be reading that literally at the freaking family table. No one knew. Like seriously, guys, like books are a way for like you to like get into some stuff. Like, because when you watch TV or when you're on the internet, your history shows, or someone could walk in and see what you're like watching on the TV screen. But with books, no one knew. I was eating that up. And now this series, actually, the reason why I don't think I should have been reading this is not because teenagers don't face what was in this book, but because it put me really in a stage of panic, and that was the Crank series. And the Crank series was about drug abuse. It was about like teenagers being addicted to hardcore drugs like methamphetamine, cocaine, like crack. Literally, like these books were like really like visceral and open about drug use. And when I read these books, it really actually made me feel like I was addicted to those drugs. Like I would feel very like on edge when I read these books. So I would like wake up and sweat being like, oh my God, like it was just too much for me to read. It was just, honestly, I couldn't take it. It put me in a very dark space to read those books, but they were very popular. The Crank series, I don't think they even have books like that coming out, but if you know what I'm talking about, like tell me if you read those books and if you felt like very uneasy about those books. And then the last type of book I want to talk about is basically like bro books. And this is something I got later into my life. And bro books are books that like white men from the ages of like 20 to 32 really think are like the epitome of like good cutting edge literature. So this includes like Charles Bukowski, Lolita, even though that's a Russian book, like Lolita, anything Murakami, and Kurt Vonnegut, like literally. And I got into these books because I kind of want to I kind of wanted to elevate my reading, because I was kind of reading just basically like childish things in my opinion. So I kind of wanted to elevate. So I read Women by Charles Bukowski, and I didn't realize he was a full-blown sexist until I read that. I read American Psycho by Bret Easton Ellis or whatever. And I have a bunch of Murakami books, and Kurt Vonnegut, Cat's Cradle, I was eating it up. Because I kind of felt like, okay, this is what you have to read if you want to be well-read, but cutting edge at the same time. And I still like those books, but they were very much like books that like reading bros were telling me to read. And I was like, you're right. You're right, Chad. These books are what I should be reading. And now I'm kind of like, whatever. Like, I'll just read whatever I want, but it was just really funny. So yeah, those are the books I read when I was a teenager. I'll put a list down below. Let me know if you read any of these books. And yeah, I just really liked these books when I was a teenager. I don't know why I was so into these books. So anyway, let me know what you think, and I'll catch you guys later. Bye.